Thursday already. That means it's time to take a look at some legacy charts for BraveNewCoin. I'm going to start off with the usual correlation stuff. Leading, lagging, don't care. Just interesting to look at, seeing what's moving with what over the past 30 days. I like 30-day rolling correlations. Some people may like 180-day. I think it's granular enough to see what's going on in between the peaks and troughs. I think the most interesting thing is the lack of correlation. BTC has to SPX and NDX currently over the past couple weeks now. And the biggest correlations are really the 10-year note and the Nikkei, which is kind of weird. Dixie also mildly positive or zero, and the VIX still just grinding lower. Generally what we want in crypto land is a negative correlation to the Dixie, positive correlations with stonks, and then a declining VIX. VIX is generally the fear model, so a rising VIX is bearish. Spikes in the VIX are bearish historically, correlation-wise. A VIX below 20, below 10 is very bullish for crypto. Usually it just means risk-on conditions, and BTCs are risk-on assets, so that makes sense. Stocks are just in a mind of their own, at least a league of their own, at least in the United States lately. We'll take a look at that. Gold is boring, and I can't imagine actually trading this. Just flat. For me, there's no signal here. It looks very much like it did in 2011, 2012, and the beginning of 2013, where it just needs to make up its mind. It's trendless. It leans bearish because it's in the cloud. I guess you could say it leans neutral, but it's going to take some time. When this doesn't look like 2019, 2020, that's just a no trade zone for me. When it doesn't look like 2013, 2014, 2015, there's no trend. It's what are you going to do, right? Silver had this really great looking ascending triangle that broke down. I'm still holding my silver position. I don't care. Cloud says be careful here as you get a weekly bearish TK cross. This could probably retrace all the way down to the flat Kumo at 21, but I'm going to hodl it to zero. SPX is a parody of itself at this point. I mean, it's up only forever until it crashes to zero, basically. This could theoretically go to 4K or less, 3,900, whatever the Kijun is here. That's going to be the ultimate support area. Even in Corona times, that's where it paused for a second before just completely melting down. So if this does melt down ever, which, it probably doesn't because it just keeps going up, but if there ever is some turmoil in the markets type stuff, that's the first level I'd look for as support. And on the daily chart, it's just, every month we get this dip, and then it's magically bought up and we go higher every time. Every single time. So it's very strange how that works. I guess the signal here would be watch for when it doesn't, watch for when this doesn't happen, where we get this drop and it doesn't get immediately bought up over the next couple days. So I guess a 5 days of red would be probably a good signal to watch for. Once this thing turns red for 5 consecutive days, a full week, then that's probably it, because it hasn't done that, kind of ever since Corona. So that would be a change in the markets. Certainly NDX also screaming, just doesn't look as bad at this point as this does. This just doesn't look real at this point. It's obviously being propped up by money printing and treasury buying and whatever else. But if this pulls back with SPX, I like Tenkan here, the blue line, the fast MA, and then the slow Kijun in the red there, right around 13K rather. Because you could argue rising wedge on this as well, but it just keeps going higher and higher and higher. GME actually looks fine to me. I don't trade it, probably never will. Had this inverted head and shoulder breakout just like all of crypto did, and it's starting to get above the cloud here over the next week. So this could end up actually playing out as some sort of ascending triangle or whatever this is at 350, 360. If this breaks 350, 360, watch out. It's pure meme stonkery in full effect once again. So watch for that. Watch for Doge, watch for AMC, which looks great on the daily as well. It's pulling above the cloud for the first time since July. You're probably going to get a TK bull cross here as well. this doesn't make any sense as Delta variant stuff is popping off, mask stuff popping off. It's less likely that AMC's numbers are good as people don't go to the movies again. It doesn't make any sense, right? But the TA says otherwise. TA says this looks decent. This looks bullish based on trend and price position above the cloud. It also completed its falling wedge and broke out of that. So it looks decent for up to me. Coin above all of the volume resistance here that it established from 220 to 260. Honestly, this thing could teleport to 330, I think, pretty easily based on the volume gap here. Just depends on who's holding most of this and who's willing to sell at any higher prices, any insider selling that's going on to keep this thing lower. But once that's over, this looks decent. Not a lot of chart history here. It's on the hourly. Hasn't been listed too long, but it still looks decent to me. MSTR mentioned last week it had this head and shoulders thing. It's very similar kind of to early 2021. So I'd watch for these levels. Definitely watch for it at 620. Ultimately, if this thing's back above 800 before BTC breaks up, that's definitely a leading signal. My guess is they'll move together, but sometimes you'll see one move before the other. 800 definitely is the line in the sand. 800 is like ETH's 3K level. Big volume node there at 790 as well. So the reason why I watch any of this stuff is because of the crypto correlations in general. Tesla hasn't broken down. I thought it would. It's just in fantasy land, again, making higher highs. I don't really have a good read on this other than fundamentally makes no sense like much everything else. Square looks super strong to me still. If BTC does well in Q4, I'd expect this to do well throughout Q4. Probably makes higher highs. Probably reaches for 370, 380, whatever the R2 yearly pivot is here. But this thing is screaming. And let me pull up the blocks numbers on the Square BTC selling through Cash App. So their quarterly Bitcoin sales have been insane since Q1 2020, really. And if Q4 is a big quarter for crypto that I'm expecting it to be, then I expect their Q4 sales, which we won't know it to be until Q1 2022, to just be insane as well. So I'd watch for that. The block also has data on Coinbase user numbers, which continue to mega moon. I don't like Coinbase at all, but it's hard to argue with the numbers that they're pulling in. Just continues to just ramp. So something else to pay attention to. If you're not bullish Coinbase, but bullish on the stock like me, that's something I think legacy people are paying attention to. GBTC looks good and healthy, bullish, 5,200 here. Probably continues to pull up along with spot BTC. ETH effectively is at all-time highs here with the discount dissolving to zero, almost back to a premium. So to see ETH price push as hard as it has with ETH closing that discount, to me says the legacy people are loving what they're seeing here because they're piling on into this thing, helping to close that gap. Now, because the people who had been in this had a lockup period for whatever amount of time and this thing went negative, they're probably waiting to get out at parity. That's my guess. So I don't think this thing goes mega premium because the vested people waiting to sell are waiting for spot parity, basically. So they're going to keep it probably to zero. If this thing goes into a mega premium, then there's something weird going on, or those vested shares are done selling, whatever. But this thing has only had two other higher highs basically since listing and in May. So another signal to watch. It's above all this volume stuff. And if this thing takes off, before ETH, right? That's another thing to watch. It probably won't, but it's hard to be bearish ETH when you're seeing stuff like this in ETH. LTC finally negative after being positive plus 500, for months. That's come and gone. And all of these are probably going to stay negative forever at this point until BTC gets an ETF. And the CME futures contracts, we had a rollover in August 27th. New contract opened August 30th. We survived that dip, that volatility. So now that we have a new contract, ETH was moving without BTC for a while. ETH contracts for CME are the same dates as BTC, but maybe not as connected to CME as BTC is from market action perspective. NFTs were clearly pushing that thing higher. But now that we have a new contract for BTC, maybe it is more prudent to get more bullish on this. And maybe this thing pulls up to the March 29, September 24th level on that open. I could see this closing at 58K by September 24th, even though seasonality for September is poor historically. It's a bit of a mixed bag. This quarter has been rather bullish compared to other quarters, to other Q3s for BTC. So a lot of mixed signals there, but it's good that we survived that rollover. And the next period to watch would be September 24th for that rollover. Lastly, I'll just mention the ETH-BTC fund and DeFi portfolio I trade for Techme Capital on Enzyme.finance, non-custodial portfolio management tool where you can send ETH or USDC or just watch what I'm doing. You can see everything, including performance, AUM, allocations. You can see all the trades I make. You can see me rotating into BTC and ETH over the past couple days. I was hesitant until we got higher highs, but we did get higher highs. It's easy to be bullish or bearish before things move. Obviously, you want to be positioned ahead of time so you're not chasing anything. But when it's ambiguous, like I thought it was, towards the end of it, it got less and less ambiguous. Even with all the NFTs, even with all the EIP 1559 minting and burning, on-chain stats were poor, and high time frame trend stuff was bullish, but risked pulling back. So that's why I was hesitant to get in ETH in a big way. But anyway, so it's basically 50-50 now, 50% stablecoin, 50% crypto. And I'll continue to add as this stuff looks more and more bullish, or if we get a pullback. I'm just waiting for that. That's all for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe. Happy trading.